Hey guys, Johnny Discgolf here for episode 2 of Ask Upper Park. This time I am joined by three wonderful humans, Miss Zoe AnDyke, Miss Vanessa Van Dyken, and new to the scene, Ella Hansen. I'm so excited to be talking to all of you. First, let's talk to Zoe. What have you been doing these last 2 weeks? Because you haven't been at the tour events.
Well, I'm back at home in Eugene, Oregon right now. And thanks, first of all, for hosting us and having us
Uh-huh.
on tonight. This is an awesome opportunity. Always is to work with you, Corey, and
Mm-hmm.
big fan of Upper Park. These guys are doing some really cool things. So um, I've been home. I've been working on nonprofit stuff, UPlay business. That comes in the form of teaching. It comes in the form of working with all of our partnerships, which we'll talk a lot about, I'm sure, this evening, making sure that we're thanking, we're highlighting, and we're giving the good message of each of our partners while we're teaching and educating, putting
Mm-hmm.
ourselves out there. And I'm packing for tour. I'm getting ready to leave in about a day and a half here,
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm excited.
Okay, it's coming up, and the West Coast swing is coming. I'm just as excited as you are because that's my home turf too. Speaking of another West Coaster, though, Ella, you're in Oregon as well, right?
Yeah, I'm in Oregon now. I'm actually planning a move to the Bay soon, so be hanging out with you. But
Perfect.
yeah, I am been working with Zoe on some nonprofit stuff in Oregon, and in Seattle right now, preparing for a tournament for kind of the beginning of my tour. So I'm really stoked about that.
Beautiful. Well, I love talking to you. I have plenty of questions, obviously about the ultimate scene, the ultimate switch. That's probably the hot topic with you right now. But let's talk to Vanessa. How's it been going? You have been at a few of these past tour events. How's the past few weeks gone for you?
It's been pretty busy. Well, I started my tour at Waco,
Mm-hmm.
and I went from Waco to Belton, and then Texas State. While I was preparing for Texas State, I kind of strained my inner elbow from like working on my sidearm a lot.
Mm.
So I took a couple weeks off, and I missed Texas State's Lone Star Classic, and I honestly can't remember the other one. There was another one in the middle there.
Belton Vintage something?
I think vintage maybe
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And then my first event back after that, I did play Belton. I guess it was Jonesboro.
Yeah.
And then I played like a lot better there. And then I just played Mid America Open. And then yeah, tomorrow starts Dynamic Discs Open. So I'm super tired. There's like no break in between Mid America Open and this one. It was like we drove straight here. It took like 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just had to do a practice round, get situated in our Airbnb, and then next day just do the practice round again at the other course. And I don't know, the tournament starts already on Wednesday and it's 4 days. I don't
Yeah.
know why they chose to start it on Wednesday. Thought that was kind of weird because there isn't a rest day for anybody, but
Yeah, I think in large part, not to go down this rabbit hole, it's for everyone traveling in to fly back on Sunday. I think that's the large why they do that. But one thing that I want to talk to you a little bit about, Vanessa, in particular, is Mid America Open. It was originally supposed to be at Harmony Ben's, like highest rated course in the history of ratings of courses. Everybody loves it. It got switched to a slightly smaller, more park style golf. This is something I'm curious about all three of you, but let's start with you, Vanessa. What's your thoughts on like the tour pro disc golf as a whole, maybe playing on a smaller, more like average course that maybe your average disc golfer would play?
mm, I think it's fine as long as the whole lengths make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mid America Open was awesome, and they did a fantastic job with that backup course last minute. But as far as the layout for FPO goes, I would say it was a bad course
Sure.
because there wasn't really any scoring separation. There were like a few holes that we could birdie,
Mm-hmm.
but they were pretty tricky aside from maybe one or two.
Yeah.
And other than that, we're all just parring. So unless you make a really big mistake, like you miss a short putt or have a really bad tee shot or mess up a routine approach, then that's where the scoring separation
Mm.
was. And when all of us are like pretty solid players, there's not going to be much. So that's why I lost to Heather by one, and
Mm-hmm.
then me and Ellen tied, and then Missy was one stroke off of Ellen and I, and it was also tight because it was just we were kind of depending on each other to make small mistakes.
No, and it's so 50-50 on that, right? Because, a bigger course where maybe the cream can rise to the top a little more, you have those 12-stroke victories, 4-stroke, big margins of victory. This one was one of the most tightly contested, and, be it bad course design for the FPO field, it was very close, which, is entertaining. Zoe,
Yeah.
what about you, though? You're up in Oregon. You're not playing on all these tour courses right now. What's the difference in playing a tournament on a long bunch of par fours, wooded, something like that, compared to maybe I don't even know, like a Pier Park, or like a course that maybe a lot of the field has a chance to get to the pin?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a great question, Corey. And it's literally the reason that the pro tour is for professionals, and like there are tour events. It's the test of the highest amount of skill, the largest variety of shots or tools in the bag, different shot shapes and ways to be able to throw all the discs. And then it's also a test of experience to be able to, perform all of the shots at all the distances. And so Pure Park, man, everybody loves the Enchanted Forest. I'll tell you what, par 54 is prettiest, but and there's a little luck involved there just because it's the hallway of trees everywhere.
Sure.
But, I like to hear what Vanessa just said about the scoring separation, because when it becomes increasingly obvious that it's really about if somebody screws up, if there is any change, to me, that's a great disc golf course for communities to play, for people to use, even for people to practice their shot shapes. But for a tour event, and this was unfortunate circumstances. There's
Sure.
definitely no blame for the TDs. I actually felt like they did a great job for what they had. But for tour events, I think it's really highly obvious at this time, with how great the pros have become, that we do need par fours, par fives, technical par threes, and score separation. And there's something to be said for like what they call the crush boy or the crush girl courses. You got to have just as much crush shots and par fours and fives that are huge bombers, as much as you need to have technical wooded shots. Not necessarily shorter, but everybody needs to be able to throw their slower speed discs and be accurate too. So couldn't help but echo Vanessa a lot there, where we all want a chance to show off our best skill, but then test all of our skills,
Sure. No, and Ella, something that you're quickly becoming known for is being one of those crush girls. Zoe just said it. I mean, you throw a mile. What's it been like, dialing in your game on different size courses? Because one thing in Ultimate is the field is always the same, right? The people are different, but the size is the same. What's it been like, adapting to multiple dimensions like that?
Yeah, I mean, when I started playing, I didn't really have a good sense of what a good course was, or what good course design was. So it's been interesting trying to, I've started to understand what good holes are, and what kind of a spread you want for types of holes. And I really enjoyed playing courses like at Las Vegas, because I really, I love to throw really long. I got my first tournament eagle at Las Vegas, which was awesome.
Nice.
So I really enjoy the long courses, but I agree that like, I think it's important to make sure that the holes are well designed for FPO. And, I watched that Mid-America coverage, and yeah, there were some really interesting holes, and some that were just like 450-foot par threes that were just like not cool, but also would be a pretty soft, par four. So I think that, local courses are great, and also having that consideration for local courses of making sure that there's, maybe multiple tee pads and, multiple hole locations and things like that can make it more accessible to beginners and, to people who can't throw quite as far. I think that that's really important.
No, absolutely. And, just hearing you guys talk about this is making me think, one of the interesting things, or one of the cool things I think that our team does out at the San Francisco Open, now OTB Open, Leonard does such a good job at designing two specific courses, one for MPO and one for FPO. Like, same holes, right? Same real estate, but just totally different shots and totally different shapes. Vanessa, let's kick it to you. Are there any courses or tournaments that maybe stand out that have two great designs, and it's not just an MPO hole with just a 50-foot shorter tee. It's actually a good hole independent. Are there any tournaments that stand out like that to you?
I'm really trying to think, and the only one that really comes to mind, I'm sure that there are several, but because I'm on the spot, they're just not coming to me.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I really appreciate what Jonathan Poole and I'm sure like a bunch of other on the Innova team have
Hmm.
done for the women's national championship. I think they did a really good job of like making interesting holes for FPO. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously they're very advantageous if you are a lefty or have like a big sidearm or can just throw super far. But it's also very scoreable for someone who doesn't have those skill sets. Like although it is harder, it's doable. So I really appreciate courses where I mean, obviously having a lot of power and whatnot is a big advantage,
Hmm.
but I think it's really nice. Oh, for example, Waco. I feel like Waco is a great event because it's there are holes where it's advantageous if you throw super far, but there are plenty of holes that everybody in the field has the potential to birdie if they
Hmm.
execute their shot properly, and I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, so let's kind of tie into that a little bit. Zoe, this is a question that I'm curious about, and I'm curious if this has two different answers for you. What's your favorite course to be at, like energy wise, ambiance, and then what's your favorite course to play? Are those two different courses for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I get to answer one of those answers to both your previous question and this question to Vanessa. And now Maple Hill, without a doubt, is, I mean, it's special. You don't want to leave the property. The energy is magical and the energy is high. And
Hmm.
for those of you out there that aren't into energy, that's all right. You're gonna get there and you're gonna be sucked in by the scenery. It's pretty
Hmm.
magnetic and just all empowering and awesome. And the cool part is they've got 4 courses built into one, so they've got all the different colored tees. And it's also interesting. It's kind of on topic here with our buddies, the Pro Tour. Good old Steve Dodge, the original, owner and
Hmm.
founder of the Pro Tour, was one of the first tournament directors that tried to separate FPO and MPO tee pads. And I do remember a year, I can't remember, it was 100 years ago, like 2015 or something, 2014. But I remember a year where we all had to get together as FPOs and be like, hey, man, this is a little bit of a joke, but we like what you're trying to do. And then it just got better and better and better. So Maple Hill, and then on our side of the country, we've only had one, and we're gonna have another coming soon. But the Portland Open at Blue Lake, man, I got a shout out to Stumptown Disc Golf Club
Hmm.
for pouring those the AM pads or the FPO pads, and we didn't even use all the AM pads, but we also adjusted the par 4 and par 5 margin and used the same pads for some of those. And so I got to hand it down to that whole entire crew. Dustin Keegan, Brian Cole was on the scene a lot
Hmm.
there, Jeff Spring big time. And then myself, they listened to me and kind of, they took in what I had to say as well. And so I felt like we had really good separation there. Everybody loves Milo. If you haven't been to Milo, it's a good place to lose yourself. Unfortunately, we
Yeah.
don't get to be there this year, but then there's a real special place where the course will always win, and you just really have to bow down and be ready for it, and it's timeless, and that is De La Viega. And that's a place I like to find myself just because it's so special. I
Hmm.
mean, I'll leave it at that. It's located in like this gravity vortex, the mystery spots just on the other side of the
Yeah.
hill. So that's
Yep.
going to tell you some of the magic, some of the
Uh-huh.
gravity. It's real force that's pulling the magic there. So I like De La. Certainly love Maple, and then the Beaver State Fling courses for sure.
Well, what about you, Ella? You're relatively new to the sport. Please correct me if I'm wrong. About a year, maybe almost a year and a half, that you've
Yep.
really been like throwing disc golf discs in earnest. What are your favorite courses, and are there different ones that you like to be at compared to play?
Well, I've only played Milo a couple of times, but the 2 times I played it, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I've only kind of been limited to the West Coast. I
Hmm.
actually was on the live stream crew for women's nationals and the USDGC, so I got to play that course, and I agree that was a fun one to play, and I liked playing from the women's tees. And but yeah, I think Milo feels special.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean there's some really great courses. You know, Zoe and I have been playing at Bryant Park up in
Ooh.
Albany, Oregon, which is really fun. It's got some good par fours in there
Mm-hmm.
and challenging shots. Um, yeah, I
Right?
mean,
And
I haven't. Go
I just
ahead.
have
Go
to
ahead,
say,
Zoe.
I had the pleasure of taking Ella and another friend through De La Viega.
Oh.
After we left Vegas, we were all up in that area, and I kind of felt like Grandma Disc Golf because I got to share everything I'm there.
Yeah, it
Sorry.
really no, it really is great though, and this is related because the amount of ultimate players coming in, and this is not just you, Ella, but this is I'm feeling this at Golden Gate Park, like tons and tons of new players that just aren't able to play ultimate right now, and it is so fun, like joining them on their first disc golf discovery again. You know, it's like we just don't have that. We don't have quite that like joy of like checking out De La for the first time, or like let's go play a tournament. It's the first time they ever played a tournament and stayed away. You know what I mean? And really like discovering that joy again has been really awesome. Like, have you enjoyed that experience, Ella?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, even a year ago or, 2 years ago, I would have had no idea most of the lingo and terminology I know about disc golf now, and
Mm-hmm.
even just, shot shapes and all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, that's one thing that I've been really appreciating about disc golf is just being out in nature and enjoying the time out there and being able to, play with friends or have it be a more individual experience
Mm-hmm.
and just enjoying what nature has to offer while also doing something fun.
Yeah, certainly. And now speaking of like, hot starts, very skilled at the beginning, Vanessa, I'm under the understanding that you had a very successful start to your disc golfing career, like competitively. Could you talk about maybe your first few tournaments and how you kind of rose in the scene pretty quick?
So, I just played, like, I kind of got obsessed with disc golf, and I went from playing like once a week to almost every day. And we went on a Saturday to go play, and there were women playing in a tournament, and like the course was closed. And I was like, what? I'd never seen women play before.
Oh.
Because at that time in San Diego, there was only like 2 or 3 women who were playing. Like, I mean, I hadn't seen any of them yet, but I saw them at the tournament, and I followed them, and I was like, they're playing AM, and I was like, I can throw that far. I can make bigger putts than that. And so I decided to sign up for an event. At the end of 2013, I signed up signed up and got my PDGA number, my first event, and I won that one. And then I was like, well, I want to see how I compare to other AM women. So I signed up for the Memorial. I believe it was an NT at the time. And there was like almost 20 AM women. And then I won that one by like 17 strokes. And I was like, okay, well, I want to see like how I compare to like other AM women in the world. So I like looked up when AM Worlds was, and because I didn't play, like I played that one event, but I didn't play any others the year before, so I wasn't eligible to register. And so I eventually got in off the wait list because people dropped out before, and I won AM Worlds. And then after that, there was A tier going on in San Diego. And at the time, a player named Owen Scoggins signed up. And at the time, she was ranked 4th in the world. And she had also placed 4th at in the FPO division at Pro Worlds in Oregon that year. And this was like 2014. And so I decided to sign up for that event and play with her and see like kind of where I would fall in FPO. And I played that event, and then I won that one by 1 stroke. And so after that, I was like, well, I guess I should just go pro. And I started touring full time, and yeah, and I'm still doing it.
Gosh, that's so insane. It's not that easy. Like, I can attest to this. It usually is not that easy. So it really is insane. Quick follow-up. How long had you been like throwing discs before you entered that first tournament? Was it like 6 months? Was it like 2 years casually?
No, it was probably like 8 months or something. But I think the reason why I progressed so fast is because at that time, me and my sister got really close, and she was a cross country runner, and she like taught me how to run with her because she wanted company. And I used to run like 5 miles every single day, and I was like working and going to school, and like I'd had like no friends, and so that's why disc golf like really was, yeah, you know why,
Yeah.
because you can play by yourself. And so I could just like pass time by practicing and throwing a lot, and then I would always work. And I feel like the running really helped me with my mental game, because like you battle those demons every day when you run a lot, like when you're like, I'm too tired, I can't do it, I can't go any longer. And I felt like that's why my mental game was so strong when I first started, because I was used to battling those like bad voices in my head like every single day. So yeah.
Wow, that's actually a great
But
perspective.
my throwing was complete crap. But yeah,
Hey, it wasn't that bad. Clearly, okay, it was clearly not that bad.
it was just determination, pretty much.
Yeah, just raw willpower.
Yeah.
So let's kick it over to Ella. And in particular, what it's been like, you know, throwing a disc golf disc or multiple different disc golf discs compared to one Ultra Star. That to me has been like the biggest issue with a lot of the Ultimate players at Golden Gate Park that are switching over. Is it's almost like overwhelming the amount of choices that they have. What has been your experience, you know, the difference between dialing in one piece of plastic, 9,000 different angles in any wind compared to like having an infinite amount of discs that you could choose from?
Definitely, you know, had to learn a bunch of new stuff kind of
Yeah.
because, you know, playing Ultimate, yeah, like you said, you know I really like to play around with angles and stuff when I was playing Ultimate, and so I I got really comfortable with that and with throwing in the wind with an Ultra Star, but you know, that's changing my own form, and so, you know, I've had to learn kind of how to, you know, what kind of discs to change to throw in the wind instead of changing my form to throw into a headwind or, you know, with a tailwind or crosswind or whatever. Um, and then, yeah, just figuring out what kind of discs to throw. My first experience, I was throwing a putter, but then I also, you know, I got greedy and I wanted to try out the distance drivers. And so it took a while to kind of dial in, obviously, that kind of throw and with certain discs. Um, but yeah, I think that like from Ultimate, it definitely helped me, you know, being able to manipulate discs. And my first like real, well, kind of sort of experience playing disc golf is playing on the, you know, there's like an object course that, you know, some of my friends and I would play on the University of Oregon campus. And so playing with an Ultra Star. And so I kind of got a sense of like how to play disc golf from that, but definitely a lot different with, you know, all the discs that you can choose from.
No, no question. And kind of as a little bit of a follow up, have you noticed, like, okay, how Ultimate's coming back, right? It's
Hmm.
you know, I know Markham down in San Francisco, a couple of the other guys are all like almost like abandoning their competitive disc golf right now and really gearing back up for that Ultimate season. Where are you right now with that? Are you kind of like tepid on disc golf and really excited for Ultimate to come back? Are you kind of disc golf seeming kind of appealing right now?
I'm definitely excited about disc golf, and you know, at least this year, I'm planning on playing. You know, I'm not planning on playing Club Ultimate or you know high level Ultimate. You know, I might try to play some pickup here and there, but yeah, I'm focused on disc golf right now. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a really different sport than Ultimate, even though it involves throwing discs. But I've really enjoyed, you know, being able to practice on my own time whenever I want to. You know, not having, you know, there's a bonus of not having teammates to rely on. You know, I don't have to
Yes.
worry about, you know, them catching something or throwing the right kind of throw and playing good defense. But you know, on the contrary, on the other side of that, I am relying on myself for every part of my game. And so it's definitely been a new challenge, but a challenge I've been really enjoying, and I'm planning to, you know, keep pursuing for the time being. That's for sure.
Awesome. Honestly, it really like I love hearing that because I know that I know that Ultimate is really like such a core part of a lot of folks' identity, and it can be really hard to lose, that community and that whole thing. So it really like is a good warm feeling inside to know that you've kind of maybe found, an equal and awesome and another community to kind of like plug yourself right into. I want to talk to Zoe a little bit specifically about that, that community question. I know that you've been doing a ton of work. You kind of been dialing back the Touring Pro Zotron a little bit and dialing in like building the community, growing disc golf, and doing everything you can to like, really just like preach the gospel of disc golf, the church of the chains, really. Could you speak a little bit about what it's been like to, operate on the other side of disc golf? You've been in front of the camera and throwing discs for so long.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for asking, Corey. I have like a lot of like really excited and high emotion about going back out on tour now, but it's nothing like it's ever been before. The tour will never, ever, I should never say never, but the tour for me this year will not at all look like it ever has looked since 2012. And that's the first year I started touring. And I took COVID year off. I played the Memorial and then everything happened and then I stayed home. But the scaling back really started in about, I think 2018 was my last full-time year, mostly full-time. And then that must have been 17. So I had like 2 full years of just going like 50 to 60% out there and then working more on UPlay. And I'm really lucky to have like an amazing set of advisors, my entire board of directors, and then a lot of really smart and passionate people that I work with. And all of those people have grown and developed me as like a director and as more of a businesswoman. And then on top of that, with the work that we're doing to teach disc golf and to put it into schools and to write curriculum and to teach clinics, camps, all the above, let's heal the world with disc golf. I would say it's enhanced me. I feel like I continue to get better, and we all hope as we continue to get older, we become smarter and maybe a little better, some things.
You hope.
But I definitely feel like in the growth of me as a professional working disc golf versus a professional playing disc golf, it's enhanced my disc golf in a lot of ways, and it's taken away from. So it's enhanced my physical skills, but it's also taken away from some of my sharpness in the mental game in the elite level events. It takes a few more to get back to that. Only put the blinders up and the spotlight only being on Zoe, because as a teacher and a coach and an educator, the spotlight is on everyone else because you're rising the entire crew and population in front of you. You're trying to get them to where you at or better, and or higher. And to go out and play a tournament, you got all kinds of different personalities and flavors, and to shut those things off is a really hard feat. And then after that, trying to focus on your best game. So I think it's been a really big challenge. It's elevated me and it's also made things tough, but coming back out this time, I'm trying to really focus on the event being my weekend, my vacation. I love the idea that if you're playing your best disc golf, you're only thinking about one thing at a time. And that sounds like a vacation to me, because growing a nonprofit, no exaggeration here, from 100 to 1,000 things at a time or in a day or in communications with people, I think it'll feel really good to just be like one shot, one thought focused in the event. And then while I'm not playing, the networking, the business, the internal communications and business side of things, I got to upkeep all that stuff. There's no one else to do that. And so I think that this West Coast swing is going to come and go super quick. And my biggest goal for the whole thing is to try my hardest to be mindful or be meditative in every moment, because it's going to fly. I'm going to love it, but there's a lot to do, and there's a lot for everyone else. And then there's a lot that I'm paying to play. I want to bet on me too. I want to play. So we're gonna see that, and then I might try to take like a small day or two off before I jump into full-time work for the summer, and then go back out for the East Coast swing.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so am I going to see you out in Vermont, Maple Hill again too? Those two, please tell me you'll be there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All signed up, and in fact, those are the two places that my heart like aches for is the Green Mountain Championships in Maple Hill. My heart just every year that I'm not there, any year missed, it just doesn't feel right.
No, I totally agree. The first East Coast event I ever went to was the Green Mountain Championships in, I believe, 2016. The first year that the Pro Tour had a championship. It was mind-blowing, like the coolest experience. I'd never been in golf like that. And truly, like, I look forward to that event every year. Just like the butterflies in the stomach, it just feels like I'm like, oh, it's just like a new player again. I want to talk a little bit about a slightly bigger, heavier. We could spend 50,000 hours talking about this subject, but I would like to get a take from each of you on, and this is a question from Brandon out in San Francisco. We're trying for our club really to encourage women to play the game. We're trying to, do whatever we can, but in large part, it's like a bunch of men trying to figure out what we can do for women, and it doesn't really feel right or great. It just feels a little weird, right? So I would like a bit from each of you on what male disc golfers could do, and maybe that's like a wildly male perspective, is like, what can we do? But like, what can a male do to encourage, to welcome, to grow the sport of disc golf for women? And I kind of have each of you pegged for a different part of this. Zoe, I kind of have you, what on a local level, like at a Sunday weekly, at something like that, like what could the local male contingency of disc golfers maybe do or not do to help grow the women's side of the game?
Okay, well, just on a local scene, first of all, if you're lacking even having any women show up to your weekly, I would create a women's division specific. Okay, so that's like, some people think that's pretty easy, but if you got 1, 2, or 3 women showing up and they're continuously only playing with men, you've already negated the idea of women playing with women. So there's a good start is to get the women's division going. And hopefully you're going to get 4 and then 8 and then 12. And then I would say, as the man or the male that's facilitating your weekly league, offer some assistance to the motivated, strong female figure inside of that group that just grew, because it's going to be scary to try to take on a league or try to run an event or even a WGE on their own. And if you have that experience, you have the answers, you have the connections, sponsors, knowledge, offer assistance. But do not be mistaken, gentlemen. It's so kind of you to be so encouraging and trying to involve us. But women want to play with women. Women love structure and love details. So pass the knowledge. But women also do really want something like this delivered and organized with a female leader. Now, it doesn't have to exclusively be that. Someone like Alan Risley, I'm thinking of like Brian Beardham up in Montana, the Jeffs well, Jeff Spring is too, but I'm talking about Middle and Haggerty in Oregon. Those guys, man, they build some big, awesome support for women, but they let a female partner do a lot of the leadership role. They empower them. So anybody out there, start by women playing with women. Then as they grow, encourage them and offer that knowledge and support and offer assistance. And then the final piece to all of that is there is always one bad egg or one bad apple. And there is always a guy that's just a little bit annoyed for no good reason about the lack of what a female skill can do. And the second anybody ever sees kind of puke of the mouth or hatred or bad behavior like that, we must embarrass the bejesus out of them. We must make them feel very stupid. We must really make it hurt once we've captured something like that, because we can't let that go on.
No, absolutely. And really great points. I appreciate the perspective. Vanessa, you're on the touring scene a little bit more than these other 2 women here. What could you see maybe on the professional scene, whether it's for a fresh face on the tour, a new female that's on tour full time, like what could the male contingency do, to help them?
Well, from what I've seen, like read online from women who were considering joining the tour for the first time, there's been a couple of comments where women have said that they're afraid to be on coverage or make a feature card or a lead card for the first time because they're worried about internet trolls or what people might say about their body or what they look like or their skill set or whatever. And so it would be really helpful if people just use a little more discretion. It's okay to say what you're thinking in a closed setting to your friends or whatever, but I think people should try and refrain from making comments on a public forum where the person that you're speaking or writing about or talking about can see what you're saying. And I just I know that sounds like common sense or something, but it really does affect the mental health of women on tour a lot more than you might think. And also, I think another thing that's really damaging about it, this is just from my own interpretation of it, is on the internet, it's almost worse when you have to read something really nasty about yourself, because when you're reading it, you're almost saying it to yourself and you're saying it in your own voice. And then it you start to believe in those things. So rather than if you hear someone say something bad to your face, obviously that's hurtful, but it's on a whole nother level when you're saying it to yourself. So I know that sounds really strange or not like a big deal, but I think it makes a huge difference in the mental health of females out on tour. And then also just like in the media, try to promote the women equally to how you would promote MPO player. Like if an MPO player plays hot, then you promote them, you share how their round went, or their skill sets, or if they had a good shot or ace or whatever. I feel like the women should be treated like that too, not just because they're sexually attractive or whatever.
No, and frankly, all three fantastic points. And I never really, the second point you made about saying it to reading it in your own voice, and it's like you telling yourself that, is actually very poignant, I think. And I don't know that I've ever really thought of it in that way. And that is actually a really interesting perspective. Like, I appreciate that.
It's like self affirmations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the opposite. Yeah, no,
yeah.
Exactly. Ella, one of the cool things that I've discovered about talking with a lot of my ultimate friend, or my newfound ultimate friends, I guess, is their relationship with male-female play within the squad, like within the sport. Because I have a friend, Drew, who plays on a co-ed team, and they even they watch tape and they make sure that the touches are equitable, whether it's 3 or 4 on the field or 4 and 3, they make sure that it's like a fair set across everything, and that's a big priority. Is there anything that you could see from Ultimate that maybe we could learn from and adapt from in regards to, making everything equitable across the board?
Yeah, I think that's, it's interesting coming from Ultimate, because I think that, obviously, there's great people in both the Ultimate and disc golf communities, but I think that Ultimate is a little, more advanced in terms of gender equity. Not to say that it's perfect by any means, but yeah, I think that like, equal coverage, I think of the sport in general, I think is good. And, like you see that kind of with the disc golf network, because, I think they're doing generally pretty great things. And as somebody who's worked on like a live streaming crew, I know that it's very challenging and there's not necessarily a perfect way to go about it. But, they start with, the men's chase card, and they go through, all of the men's, round. And they'll show some of the FPO beginning, but they really only go to the FPO once the MPO is over. So like maybe that would have to do with adjusting tee times, or, adding some cameras, making 2 separate streams. There's some options, but I think that having that coverage so that people can see that coverage and, be supported, because I think that, this is kind of common with women's sports in general, is that like you see that they're kind of written off, like the WNBA, the NWSL, all the women's professional leagues kind of are said that, they're not a good media opportunity, they can't make any money. But when they actually are given those media deals, when they are publicized, the U.S. women's soccer team gets way more views than the men's soccer team does when they get, when you get put on ESPN, when you get put on the big stage, whatever, whether it's for disc golf or for national media. and people do watch, and people do, support financially and do become fans even if they weren't before. So I think that, giving the FPO that opportunity is really important. And I think that for tournaments, making a lot of spots for FPO, because, and for all the women's divisions, if the spots don't fill up, great, you can move them over to MPO, you can move them over to, MA1, whatever. But making sure that women have the opportunity if they want to. One thing I'm really excited about, I'm playing in a tournament this weekend that has extra added cash for the FPO compared to the MPO, which, makes me more motivated to play and, helps bring out women. And I think that that's a really cool motivation. And, as a player, I'm always looking for the tournaments where I can have fun, play with a lot of women. And that's a good way to make it more fun and to play with more women.
No, totally. And yeah, no, really great points. I'm echoing what Zoe's bringing over there, but no, it's obviously we're not there yet, and it's a constant struggle, and we're just all we can do is push one step in front of the other. We can't really advance 1,000 miles in one day. It just usually doesn't work like that. So
yeah,
for me, the most important thing is to have this conversation, though, is to speak about it and figure it out each other. We can't be afraid to talk about it, right? Because it's an issue that we have, and it's something that we need to work through.
Yeah, I think making it, a continuing conversation, right? Of not just what do we need to do now to make, 5% more of women play disc golf, and then leave it at that, right? We're going for more than that. And so making sure that, you're continuing every year, every couple months or whatever to reassess and try to figure out new ways to bring women into the sport, I think is really important.
Yeah, no, 100%. So a little bit of a heavy topic. I do want to end on a slightly lighter note. I want to know each of your favorite hole-in-one. It could be the dopest hole you've ever aced. It could be a little shorty that all your friends were around you and it went off and everybody went nuts. It could be the most lucrative ace you ever hit, $1,000 ace pot or something like that. But Vanessa, count us out here with your favorite ace that you've ever had.
Okay. I've only ever had 3 aces, and both of them were the year 2 of them were the year I started playing.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess my favorite ace was one time in San Diego. We had these doubles every week, and it was at Mission Bay. It was like a temp course. And I couldn't really tell how far away one of the holes was, and I threw a distance driver, and if it didn't go in, it was going to disappear into the bay forever. And I hit the ace, so that was probably my favorite one because it was a horrible shot. But
oh my God.
So horrible, it was good.
That's so good. Well, Ella, you've only been playing for like a year, 18 months, something like that. Okay, first question. Have you aced yet?
Not yet. I've gotten close. Zoe's seen a couple, but not yet. So hopefully it'll be fun. I'm going to be on a feature card for the OTB Open, so maybe I can make it happen on
okay.
film.
I will. As much as I would love for that to happen, having seen that course, I think it's highly unlikely anyone MPO, FPO at all is going to ace. Those holes are insanely long and windy. But that's so cool. I didn't realize you're going to be on a feature card. It's like, at OTBM, we have Simon coming back on the MPO. If you on a feature card, there's I'm like pretty excited about what we got going on.
I'm really stoked.
Yeah, Zoe, what about you? I feel like there's a story. I feel like you already know what to say on this one. What's your favorite ace? Something tells me.
Well, I'm kind of bursting because I have like a lot of magical stories of aces. I only have 12. So that, excuse me. Wow. I just hit, I hit my
privileged much. Oh my gosh.
And actually I'll be as fast and as like.
Hit me, lightning.
Ella was there for my most recent ace with a brand new first time throwing Thought Space Pathfinder. Just got on Thought Space this year, and it was so special because it was with Ella. I play with her, I coach her, I help her, she works with me. We're putting a lot of time into each other, right, and getting to know each other while she's getting to know disc golf, and that was pretty magical to share with her. It wasn't my favorite ace though, but I had to say that.
No, hit it, yeah.
My first favorite was my first ace because It was the Discraft Ace Race up in Alaska. I was in Kenai, Alaska. I'd moved there a week beforehand, and I just met all the disc golf crew there. And I just was given my Discraft disc. I didn't even know what it was, and I stepped up, and it was the practice, my first shot practice round before the tournament started, and I aced hole one. Well, then nobody aced on the day, so it was really funny. But then the real best ace that you've ever heard. I had to hog it with 3 stories, but it's really dope, really dope. I have a world's ace at Lemon Lake, and then I have an ace in Hawaii too that we could talk about. But this is the ultimate. It's not on any disc golf course in the world. I'm at my house when I live next to Milo McIver. Brian Cole, that everybody knows. Brian's the man.
Yep.
B. Cole works for the Pro Tour. Big shout out to B. Cole.
Mm-hmm.
We're at my house. We're walking up the driveway. And there's a little elevation, okay? And we're about, 220, maybe 250. I'd have to ask Brian, but we're, in this decent range. And then we have 2 huge pine trees next to my house that sit about 5.5, 6 feet apart. And deep of the pine trees, I have a mini basket, an Innova mini basket. And then deep of the mini basket, I had like a Dynamic Discs Recruit. And Brian and I are walking up the driveway. We got this uphill slope of this 5-foot gap, and here's this mini basket. And he goes, "I'll give you $20 right now. You can ace either one of them." And how often have any of you ever seen a full-size disc stay in a mini basket? First throw, no kidding, no second shot, bam, right through the trees, and it stays in the mini basket on a hyzer angle, and it just stays. And Brian, I lost my mind. And Brian just opened his wallet and just dropped the whole thing and was like, what?
Oh my God, that's great.
With a full-size disc.
Oh my God. Okay, that's good. That's an incredible story to end on. I truly really appreciate all 3 of your time. Making it happen. I know, Vanessa, you're on tour. It's a little bit crazy. 2-day turnaround. DDO is coming. To my 2 West Coasters, really, I appreciate you taking the time. I can't wait to see all of your faces at the West Coast events. I can't wait, man. It's gonna be so fun. But honestly, I didn't even have time to get into Zoe, you and Ella's kind of like tutor relationship, kind of like a student teacher situation. So we're gonna have to do another one of these soon, so we can dive even more into that. But that's all we're gonna have for today. Really, I thank all 3 of you for your time. If you guys would like episodes of Ask Upper Park, make sure to check out upperparkdiscgolf.com. They're doing great stuff. All of us are involved, and we're all involved because we love the company and we love what they do. So for real, thank you so much to Upper Park, and make sure to check back a little bit later for episode 3.